What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another post game here on Mets Central, and a huge response. Thankfully, the Mets respond and they win their series over the Arizona Diamondbacks as they win 7-1 today in Game 38 of the regular season. Before we jump into everything here, leave a like on your way in, or if you're watching on replay, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live here on Mets Central. There will be a podcast episode either later tonight or there will be one tomorrow at some point during the day. So be on the lookout for that. But we got a lot to get into as thankfully, like I said, they responded. There were things where I honestly felt worried that they were not going to respond because once again, this team with runners in scoring position at points, they weren't capitalizing. Juan Soto had an ugly at bat earlier in the game and then hits 2 home runs. There were some managerial decisions that worried me. Kodai Senga scared me. But then overall, I mean, everything just worked out in its place and settled down, especially on Senga's front, which we'll talk about. And that was the biggest thing, is that Kodai Senga was able to give a little bit of length today. And it sucks that if his command was better throughout the outing, you would have got 7 from him most likely. But unfortunately, that's not the way that things went down. But let's talk about it. In the top of the first inning, the Mets go down in order. In the bottom of the first inning, Corbin Carroll walks. Perdomo pops out, and then Corbin Carroll gets picked off trying to steal second base because Luis Torrens has just been on fire. They were showing the graphic of how good he is with throwing guys out over at second base, or just pick off in general, I think it was. Either way, though, he ends up catching Corbin Carroll, stealing second there. Pavin Smith walks, and then Josh Naylor grounds out to end the inning. And then the top of the second inning is kind of where we saw exactly what I'm talking about here, where I was very worried about it being another one of those days at the office because Brandon Nimmo gets a leadoff double. Then Torrens grounds out. Beatty gets on because of an error. Acuna strikes out, and then Jeff McNeil strikes out. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there thinking, like I said before, here we go again, right? Here we go again. The bottom of the second inning, Suarez with a leadoff walk, Gurriel strikes out, and then Alek Thomas gets a double. But thankfully, Tyrone Taylor with a nice throw over to Lindor. Lindor with a nice relay to the plate to get the runner going home, to get Suarez going home, that is. And that ends up resulting in an out. Then there was a wild pitch by Senga, but thankfully he settles down and strikes out Tawa to end the inning there. We go to the third inning. Tyrone Taylor would ground out to lead things off. Lindor hits a double, and then Juan Soto, that might have been the worst at bat I've ever seen. Him taking a Mets uniform, maybe even throughout his career. Thankfully, we don't have to rip on it because of what he did later on in the game, which we'll talk about. But very, very bad at bat there. Just a very ugly at bat, going down on 3 strikes. And then Pete Alonso lines out. We go to the bottom of the third. Back-to-back walks from Herrera and Carroll, but saying a credit to him, like I said, the walks were an issue, but he was able to get out of it. And a lot of it was thanks to the Diamondbacks' stupidity, because you have Perdomo going up there for whatever reason, laying down bunts, and they get the force out at third, and then Pavin Smith hits into a double play. I don't know why they did that when Senga issued back-to-back walks there, but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain because it worked out. Top of the fourth, the Mets go down in order. Again, feeling worried. Bottom of the fourth, Senga gets a much-needed 1-2-3 inning. The fifth inning, the Mets go down in order again, and it just, again, felt like it was going to be one of those days at the office where they're going to be in this game, but they're going to lose because the offense is not showing up. The bottom of the fifth, Senga again, a much-needed 1-2-3 inning. And then in the sixth, Lindor flies out, but then Juan Soto would hit his 6th home run of the season to make it 1-0 as he hits this one to center field, 427 feet. Beautiful to watch. Pete Alonso then gets robbed of a hit from Suarez, making a good play over at third base. Nimmo grounds out to end that inning. In the bottom of the 6th, Corbin Carroll gets a leadoff single. And then after that, the next 3 outs come easy for Kodai Senga, which was huge. The 7th inning, Luis Torrens with a leadoff double. Brett Beatty would ground out. And then Luis Angel Acuna would get a single. And immediately I'm thinking there, I do not want to see Jeff McNeil. I don't want to see him in the lineup. Again, Acuna should be playing. And then he steals second. And then, sure enough, Jeff McNeil hits a triple. got hurt on it as well. So we'll see what happens there with Jeff McNeil. And then Zokar has to come in and pinch run. But we'll give the update, of course, on Jeff McNeil as soon as we get it here. I don't know if they announced anything on that front, but if we get the update, then of course I will provide that there. So right now I don't see anything though. But we'll get to it if there is one throughout the post game. If not, it will be on the podcast where we talk about whatever happened with Jeff McNeil. And then the rest of the lineup goes down there, that being Taylor and Lindor to end the inning. In the bottom of the seventh inning, Kranick comes in. And this is where I had my first issues, right? So Kranick comes in, and I didn't have an issue with Kranick being there. But Kranick comes in, gets a lineup from Suarez, gets a flyout from Gurriel, then ends up allowing back-to-back singles, and one of them being a hard hit ball. Kranick, though, I give him credit for the fastball velo being up because he was touching like 99 at points throughout this. Gets out of the inning, though, hangs a slider to Ketel Marte, which was very ugly. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, he cannot pitch in the eighth inning and get Edwin Diaz in the baseball game in the eighth inning. I'm like, there's an off day tomorrow. It's the top of the lineup. You need to win a series here. You have not won a series in over the past 3. You need to get this baseball game done, over with, get a win, and fly back home with the off day tomorrow. Juan Soto hits a leadoff home run in the eighth inning to the opposite field. Beautiful to watch. And outside of a Torrens walk, nothing else happened that inning. And then Kranick is out there for the bottom of the eighth inning. Why? Why is Kranick out there for the bottom of the eighth? Even worse, why was nobody up until Perdomo gets a single after Corbin Carroll, by the way, hits a solo shot? Why was no one up right after that at the very least? Why did it take Perdomo's single to get someone up? He gets the strikeout, and then Brazoban comes in. And when I saw Brazoban was up, and I like to admit when I end up being wrong with things that work out, I did not understand why. Because to me, it was a no-brainer with an off day tomorrow. Go to Stanek, go to Diaz, go to Garrett, and then they go to Brazoban. And he gets the 2 outs. Again, credit to him. Shut me the hell up. Prove me wrong. He did. And I'm happy about it. I just did not understand the decision-making at the time. And once again, I don't know why Mendoza has to play with fire at times. It worked out, though. It ended up working out. And even better because of what they did in the ninth inning, where they exploded offensively and broke the game open. Because after Acuna lines out, Azokar walks, steals a bag, Taylor walks, Lindor with a double to open the game and make it 6-1. Soto with a sac fly, getting his 3rd RBI of the day to make it 7-1. Alonso strikes out. Stanek with a 1-2-3 inning to end the baseball game. I was scared too that they were going to go up by 4 and then play with fire again and not put Diaz in, because I'm like, there's an off day tomorrow. Please use Edwin Diaz. But when they went up 7-1, I didn't have an issue there. So yeah, again, this was a game where I was worried at points. The offense went 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. So justifiably so, I was worried at times. And the offense, crazy what happens with Starling Marte's not going 0 for 4 in the cleanup spot, right? And when you actually have your lineup producing beyond the top 3, a little bit crazy, which Pete Alonso did not have a good series at all. He went 0 for 5 today with 2 strikeouts, but Juan Soto going 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Lindor going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Great days from both of them. And then you got the contributions from guys like Acuna, even McNeil. I'll give him his flowers for doing that there. And then you even got a couple walks from the bottom of the lineup. I still want to see a lot more. There's a lot to be cleaned up on that front with the offense, especially with runners in scoring position, because 3 for 12, I'd still like to see improvements there. They won. I will shut up, but I'd like to see the improvements there. But again, it was nice to see the top 2 in the order at the very least actually produce and come through there. Because Juan Soto, especially after that at bat, I was like, they need a big game from him at some point. And I know he had the 2 home run game last time, but they didn't win it. This time he gets a 2 home run game and they win, which was nice to see. In terms of the pitching, like I said, Senga, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. He definitely settled down as the outing went along. Did not love the early goings though of that outing, and that's something that does have to be cleaned up as well because there are too many times early in the outings where that is happening, where he's walking too many batters, leaving too much over the zone. Kranick did not. I don't love anymore, and I know that I'm going to get pushback on this. I don't love the idea of Kranick going multiple innings anymore. I really don't because lately it feels like every time he goes out for another inning, or especially when they push him 3 innings, it never goes well. But I feel like lately when they're pushing him these extra innings, it's not going as well lately. I mean, you're looking at the last few games where he allowed a run against St. Louis, allowed a run against Arizona. So and then the 2 innings against the Phillies, he allowed a couple of runs. So I would like to see them use Kranick in just a role where 1 inning for him. Just 1 inning from him. That I would prefer that. It's not going to happen because the reality of the situation is they need his multiple innings at points because when Jose Budo's not available and you need a multi-inning guy, it's got to be Kranick, which hopefully that's going to be the luxury when the rotation starts to get healthy and you can move Canning potentially to the bullpen and he could be your multi-inning guy where Max Kranick could then be a 1 inning guy and all of a sudden you have a guy that could be in some high leverage spots every now and then and get some quality outs in Max Kranick and do it in 1 inning and not get burnt out and not have to have all these days off and then we see him all of a sudden. I think in rhythm too, it would help him a little bit. But very very interesting stuff in terms of that front. Brazaban, he's been good all year. I was not thrilled when they went to him, but it worked out. And then Stanek, I'm happy to see him have a couple of solid outings lately. He's got to earn his way back into the circle of trust. I wouldn't mind them using him still today in a little bit of a higher leverage spot, but that was just me. But obviously I would have rather Diaz or Garrett first. So yeah, interesting series. A lot that needs to be cleaned up, of course. And in terms of the McNeil thing, apparently he had a cramp in his hamstring and he's going to be fine, it looks like. So there's the Jeff McNeil news. But yeah, let me see what you guys are saying in the chat right now before I wrap things up because I want to go watch the Knicks after this. Nice to win a series, but the play still has to be cleaned up. Their at bats were terrible up until the first SOTO home run in the 6th inning. Yeah, it's just with runners in scoring position, it's a disaster still. Much better game than last night. Happy to see SOTO bombs. McNeil with a nice triple, but I see he's not well. The triple doesn't change my mind about McNeil. It was nice to see him get it, but yeah, he ends up. It looks like he's going to be okay on that front. Nice to see Senga bounce back after a rough outing, but definitely got a feel for of his fastball after he started more of his breaking stuff. Yeah, he was not commanding his fastball well early on. And Carson pointed out, and I definitely noticed it too, his mechanics looked a little off in the earlier innings. We do love Luis Torrens. Mendoza does love gambling with the bullpen, and it drives me absolutely insane. The Perdomo bunt and Pavin Smith double play was very similar to Marte striking out, looking with the bases loaded last night, killed the momentum and swung it the other way. Yeah, that's a fair comparison. Thankfully, it was in the Mets way, but that's a very fair comparison. And yes, they do have to take advantage that the Cubs pitching has been struggling a little bit as of lately. It's funny that you mentioned this about Torrens starting because if it wasn't for Nimmo being hurt, I really wonder if they would have had Alvarez DH and then Torrens behind the plate. Right now with Starry Marte, Jesse Winker on the shelf, I would not hate it. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I really would not hate at all if they sent Brett Beatty down, brought Senjer up, and then let Alvarez DH and let Torrens be behind the plate throughout the for the time being until Winker is healthy. It's not going to happen, but I would like that personally. I think that would be the best way to get the most out of the lineup because Alvarez could just focus on hitting right now. And I mean, Torrens has been so good defensively and at the plate. So now you're getting both of their bats. All right. I'm going to wrap things up here, though. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live. And I'll see you guys in the next one.